This world has one big disability. White people and black people don't want to mix together. And a lot of them don't like one another. Up until that problem is solved, the world will never be a happy place to live in. Good evening. Welcome to Dead Air Live. My name is Jean Augustine. I will be hosting the show for this evening. And the Somerville Producers Group is proud to present to you Racism in Somerville. This is a show we've thought about doing for the past year and a half. But unfortunately, we didn't have enough information to do it. We didn't have enough inserts and people willing to do it. But now we have it, and we are proud to present to you this show this evening. The format this evening is going to be different. We're going to have young people from the regional group, and we're going to have different inserts so that people in Somerville can see what racism is all about in Somerville. Does it really exist in Somerville? And if it exists, what are we doing about it? And we have one of our inserts, one of our tape, which is almost ready. I'm getting the cue. Racism in the Projects. It's a tape that John Pennington and I did at the Mystic Valley Project, showing the different problems that a Haitian family in Somerville was having. And on December 23rd, as a lot of you may be aware of, this family was subjected to a lot of problems, having their windows smashed and breaking, and with racial slurs being said to them, and different other things. And we're asking ourselves, are these things really necessary? Why can't people live in a world where, whether you're black or white, you can hold hands together and be brothers and sisters and be happy in this world? Well, let's come back and talk about this later. Now, let's watch the tape, Racism in the Projects. I'm Jean Augustine with the Somerville Producers Group at the Somerville Police Station with Lieutenant Bob Bradley on our show on racism. Lieutenant Bradley, do you think racism exists in Somerville?
John, I won't say that racism does not exist in Somerville, but I will say that as a community in the whole, Somerville is not a racist community. Are there individuals that live in Somerville that may themselves be racist? Sure, I'm sure that's probably true. Are they the majority of the people that live in Somerville? No way. Are they a small portion of the people that live in Somerville? Yes, definitely. A couple.
Alcindor,
Yes, sir?
can you tell me exactly what happened on the 23rd of December?
Okay, on the 23rd of December, at an approximately 20 minutes to 10, our first window was being broke, and I advised Mary Ellen to call the Somerville Police Department, requested help and assistance, which she did. The police at the Somerville police department did not respond.
And you called them and they didn't show up?
They didn't show up. So at the second time, at an approximately 10:40, I called them again. They still didn't respond. So at this time, for further step, I take the case in my own responsibilities. I called and requested help from the Boston Globes, which Mr.
You called the Boston Globe, the police didn't show up the second time?
I did call the Boston Globe. So at an approximately 20 minutes to 12, David Rayburn and other guys appears and arrive.
Who was David Rayburn? From where?
He works with Boston Globe.
The Globe, okay.
Yeah. Okay, he take all the pictures of this apartment, and everybody was scared. The house was upside down. Kids was being screamed.
How many windows were smashed?
Around 11 at that time.
Windows.
But when he returned back to the Boston Gloves office, at his office, and called me up, tell me to call Boston Somerville Police, which I did, and the officers said that, were you the guy that called the Boston Glove? I said, yeah. He said, well, why don't you keep calling you Boston Glove, father? So he hangs up on my face.
Well, the latest incident that was reported, got a lot of widespread news media coverage, the latest incident last month in December, right before Christmas. There seemed to be a lot of problems or a lot of complaints about the police and their handling of that particular situation or incident. The alien family themselves complained of a lack of police response. We have a specific setup or a security system down in the Mystic Ave housing project that doesn't exist anywhere else in the city. They have what we call community service officers who patrol the Mystic Ave housing project nightly. They work in direct cooperation in conjunction with the Somerville Police Department. They carry walkie-talkies or radios that we issue to them, which is about the only equipment they do carry. And they handle the majority of the calls for police assistance into the project. And they have been for the past 10 years. I mean, this isn't a new program. Everybody down in the project knows that the CSOs are the ones that handle the majority of the calls. When we got calls of vandalism at that apartment, the call came in that windows were being broken. We sent the CSOs over. And the CSOs immediately responded, and the kids left the area and reported back that there were some windows broken, but the kids had left. When the CSOs left, the kids came back again, broke some more windows.
How do you feel living here and being under so much stress?
I don't like to live here at all.
Do you want to move out of
Yeah, I
here?
want to move.
How about Justa? Would you like to say something now? How do you feel, Justa?
I would like to move anyway.
You like to move. Do you think moving is the solution to the problem, or do you want to stay and fight?
Just for the problem.
For the problem, you want
Yeah.
to move out. But do you want to move out of here? Do you want to go live somewhere else?
We're able to identify one juvenile who is involved in the alien situation. We've taken complaints out against him in court. The housing authority is initiating action to evict the family out of the projects altogether. So that in itself is a solution. If it's one or two young people that are causing these problems and they are removed from their projects, then that will eliminate the problem. If these young people are the problem and they're removed from that area, then that eliminates the problem. I think that agencies getting together, people, the people that live down there, we had a lot of support from a lot of the other families in the projects over that incident. I mean, people that wanted to come forward, which is the only way we were able to identify the one juvenile that we did. People were able to come forward and point the finger and say, yeah, I saw him do it. And that is a big breakthrough.
Okay, this is a letter. Can you zoom in on this? This is a letter from Dr. Joel Allen, saying that Justa Alien is a patient of mine who recently delivered and is currently breastfeeding her baby. I feel that, along with the American Academy of Pediatrics, the breastfeeding is definitely preferable because of the events that have happened in the housing project with them, which you are probably aware of. She has been unable to sleep at night. She has had difficulty breastfeeding and has felt physically nervous and upset. I feel that medically it would be in her best interest and the best interest of this child for her to have other alternative location of housing. I would be glad to talk to you about this in person. Sincerely, Joel W.M. Allen, MD. Now, what is it for this family to do in order to have peace? Is it illegal to be black? Is it illegal to be willing to live? Is it illegal to live wherever you want to live at? And let's find out from those kids. Is it illegal to be black?
I don't know.
Is there something wrong in being black? Do you wish that you were white sometimes? Why?
Because every time I go outside, they call me names like this.
What kind of names?
Like black or something.
Yeah. And you think if you were white, you would not have had that problem?
Well, sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't.
Okay. How about yourself? Do you?
All right.
How do you feel about being black, being in the middle of this? Do you feel that you should have been white so you don't have this problem? Or?
Oh no, and then the second emotion. I'm proud. Number one, I'm proud being black because God creates to lead. And God creates once for all, is all of us. But I feel not being black sometimes. I wish I could go where people go, as the say. When people is tired in this world for being black, being mistreated.
Welcome back to Racism in Somerville. My name is Jean-Augustin. I will be your host for this evening. I will not talk too much about this insert that we've just seen. Later on in the show, we'll talk about it. But this is an interview. That was an interview with Justa Alien's family, and discussing the problem they were having in the project late December. And if anybody feels like giving us a call and tell me how they feel about racism in Somerville, first of all, the first question I'd like people to call me and tell me about, does racism exist in Somerville? If it does, has anybody been subjected to racism in Somerville, whether you're black or white? Please give us a call, and the number will be on the screen. If the number is on the screen, and call us and tell us how you feel about racism in Somerville. I have with me at the studio a young man who's a senior at the Somerville High School. His name is are you a senior? What?
Freshman.
Freshman, I'm sorry. Wani Desir. And in one of the inserts you'll see earlier, he will be on it on the streets interview. Wani, you live in Somerville, right? Let's establish that.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And you go to Somerville High.
Southern Junior High.
Somerville Junior High.
Southern.
Southern Junior High, that's in Somerville, right?
Right.
And where you from? What country are you from?
Haiti.
Where?
Haiti.
Haiti. Okay. Now, how does it feel to be, first of all, black, secondly, Haitian, and third, living in Somerville?
Being black, it's something that I don't too much think about that much. I mean, you think about it when, when you got kids around you, but if you really don't have to think about it too much, I don't let it get to me. That's one thing I don't let it do. I don't let people bother me about it. I just don't let it get to me at all. I mean,
you say you don't let it get to you, but do you think there is racism in Somerville against blacks?
Yeah, some parts, yeah.
Have you been subjected to any racism?
A couple of times.
Can you tell me a couple of those occasions when it happened?
Mostly in school. I mean, that's about the time that you usually, would get that thrown at you at school. It's some kids might not like you, or some kids never grew up with black people.
Tell me one incident which occurred in school that you thought was based on racism. Can you remember one?
Yeah. There's one kid. He just didn't like me because I was black, and I didn't pay any attention to him at all. So I just ignore him.
How did you know that he didn't like you?
Because he was telling me, that's why.
He told you point blank that I don't like you because you're black.
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay. And then what happened?
I just ignore him. I didn't, he usually would threaten to fight me or something like that, and I didn't take his threats too seriously. So I said, he'll calm down eventually.
Do you wish that you were living somewhere else besides Somerville?
No, I like it here so far.
So it has not been a problem for you, particularly being black and living in Somerville?
Not really.
And as far as being Haitian?
No.
Well, you don't have an accent as deep as I do. Or in fact, you don't have an accent at all. So do people identify you as being Americans or Black American or Black Haitian or what?
If I were talking on, in the street, someone would not think that I'm from another country, because I think the reason why I don't have an accent and such is because growing up in the United States and in Somerville and such, you're around other kids, and you're around white kids and such. So you mostly pick up their accents.
Ronnie, excuse me a second. Let's get back to that. I have a phone call, and let's see what. Hello, Dead Air Live. You on?
Yeah, I'm on. I want to know why you were so worried about racism in Somerville. Look at our cab drivers trying to make an honest living. They drive to Roxbury, and the only way they come out of there is in a box.
Excuse me. Can you try to repeat that question again? It's very hard for me to hear you.
I said, I don't see why you're so worried about racism in Somerville. I said, look at our cab drivers trying to make an honest living, and they ride through Roxbury, and the only way they come out is in a box.
Okay, well, the only reason we're having the title of the show is Racism in Somerville is because of the fact that this show is public access in Somerville, and it's the Somerville Producers Group. We're doing the show in Somerville, and I'm quite aware of racism all over the world.
Yeah.
As I have started the show by saying the world has one handicap, one disability is the fact that racism exists.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm prejudiced, but I think there's racism everywhere. If they're going to have Somerville, they should try it in other places where they're against whites.
Okay, do you think racism is worse in Somerville than anywhere else, or what?
No, I don't.
Excuse me?
No, I don't.
No, you don't. Have you been subjected to racism yourself?
No, I haven't.
You haven't. Okay, well, thank you for calling.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Okay, I'm sorry I cut you off. Whenever somebody calls, I'm very anxious to hear what people out there have to say. And it's very important. And if you are thinking about calling, and either if you have a comment or a question, please do so. It's very important to us to hear what you have to say. We have another phone call. All right, that sounds good. Dead Air Live, you on?
Hi, I'd like to say that racism isn't particular just to Somerville, that it's everywhere, but I do think it exists in Somerville. And I'm real concerned about when the Haitians called the police and the police responded by, why don't you call the Boston Globe back? I think that's real poor, and I hope there's going to be an investigation into that.
Okay, well, we did some investigation earlier this last week, and this story is a little clouded right now because the family is saying that they did call the police, and the police told them, why don't you call the Boston Globe back? And the police is saying something else. Up until we come up with a definite answer, then we'll have a show and really tell what actually happened.
Yeah, I believe that the police keep tapes of all of the phone calls that come in.
Excuse me?
Oh,
Can you repeat that question again?
yeah, the police keep tapes of all of the phone calls that come in, and it seems like that they could be able to investigate that by just listening to the tapes.
Oh, okay. Well, we've tried to talk to different people. Some people had no comments because of some legal matters pending in court, and it was very hard for us to get information, the clear story, and we don't want to present one person's story. We want to have different views and the real story, how it really happened. And that's, once we have the story together, we will have a show about it. And I'm sure we'll talk to find out whether they did call the Boston Globe first, they called the police, and whether the police told them to call the Globe back or not. But at this point, the police is denying that fact. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Okay, going back to your question, to your answer there, I'm sorry, but it was some very good questions that came in, and please keep on calling. We have time for that. Yeah, what were we talking about again? I got off track a little bit.
Let me see. I think it was about how do people think, do people think
there's an important thing. I know you're on the hockey team, the Somerville hockey team. and talk about that. How does it feel to be black and be in the hockey team? How many blacks are there in the hockey team first of all?
My hockey team?
Yeah.
None. In fact, there's none.
But you are on the team.
Besides me, I know.
So you're the only black there. How does it feel to be a black hockey player in Somerville?
All right. To me, I sort of take that into consideration to make that's sort of my goal to prove everybody that because a lot of kids didn't think blacks could play hockey, and a lot of them would say things like that blacks' ankles are different from whites and such, and then because blacks don't have the same balance as whites and such. I didn't believe that, and I could stand on skates. I could skate as good as them, and there's no problem with me.
It sounds good. Well, I'm getting a cue that the On the Streets interview we did a couple of weeks ago is ready to go on. And Wani, I'd like to thank you very much for being on the show. And in fact, you're going to be on this tape right there. It's the tape we're going to show. And we talked to different people in Somerville, white, blacks, and asked them how they felt about racism in Somerville. And now you can hear what they had to say about it. Well, supposedly the tape is not quite ready yet, so we can.
Absolutely. There's racism everywhere.
Have you been subjected to racism yourself?
Personally, no.
No. Do you know anybody who has been subjected to it?
In Somerville, no, not personally. I've heard stories in the past years. The whole thing is that children learn everything from their parents and home. That's where the basic education starts. It's not up to the politicians or the schools. It's up to the family members. If you can't teach your children respect for everybody and everything in the world, then the world's not going to be a better place to live.
I don't believe that racism exists as such. I believe that there are hatreds, dissensions created amongst individuals, not race against race.
Did you hear about the incident that happened in the project about a couple of weeks ago?
What project?
With the Mystic Valley project, when the black family, they broke their windows and were throwing, racial slurs at them?
Yeah, but that's ignorant. White people too, Yeah, no, it happens more to black people. But it still happens to white people too. Right?
Is there racism in Somerville?
Well, yeah, sort of. Last night my brother got jumped, as a matter of fact.
For real? By white kids, white people?
Yeah, a white guy jumped him on the way home.
Why?
Why? Because he called him a nigger. He just says, "Hey, nigger, where you going?" And my brother says, "I'm going home." And then he just started throwing punches at my brother. My brother started to fight him back, but my brother couldn't beat him because he's older. So that's just...
What do you think the politicians and the government can do to help with racism in Somerville or in the state or in the country?
Well, they should enforce, laws or enforce something, make a restriction or something out, or, put something, make them get in trouble or something, get them into some kind of trouble, Let them see that, they can't go around and do all this stuff to other people, because, hey, well, we're people too,
Is there racism in Somerville?
Yeah, there is.
It seems like it's a very funny question to you. Why did you laugh when I asked you that question?
Because racism has been around, prejudice and stuff has been around so long. Just that, especially being black, you just gotta deal with it in many ways than one. It's something that as you grow older, you just have to live with it. I mean, in fact, you gotta be proud of what you are, not letting people put you down and stuff like that.
Racism, the disability of this world. Welcome back to A Dead Alive. I'm Jean Augustine. I'm hosting the show this evening, and I'd like to welcome John Pennington, a member of the Somerville Producers Group, and also media coordinator at the Peabody House. Okay.
How you doing, John?
Ah, good. Hey. It's good
to be on the show with you.
Yeah, it's good to be on the show. Listen, John, before we have a phone call, why don't I go to it before we even say anything, right? Daddy Alive, you on?
Yes, I wanted to answer a question. I wanted to say something about being the only black on the white sport team, you know. I want to say I go to the Western Junior High School, and I'm the only black cheerleader there. And there's no prejudice up there. They treat me just like a part of the family. And, you know, because I'm very popular up there, and everybody knows me and everything. So there is prejudice in Somerville, but there are some place where there isn't. There is, but, you know, people don't show it.
Okay, that was a valuable point, and thank you for calling. And I believe not every place that you go, you'll be subjected to racism. Racism exists in different parts, and sometimes it's only people, not an entire city or an entire state or anything like that. It's just only people and single people that are racist. And these are the people we need to deal with on an individual basis or as a community as a whole in order to make this world a better place for us to live in. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
John, now we did the show on, well, not the show, we're working on the Mystic Valley Project show there. Well, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I found the whole thing really disturbing because I felt everyone was passing the buck, basically. And that in the end, that you had this family, it wasn't like some small act of vandalism, I think is the word the policeman used. It's really an assault when you have that many windows broken. And so I think everyone's sort of trying to pass the buck on to someone else, but there definitely was a crime committed, and it seems to me pretty obvious that not everything was done that could have been done to prevent it, and I find that very disturbing.
Well, okay, do you think that, well, I'm not saying like in the cover or something. Do you think that the crime is not being dealt with adequately as it should have been?
Well, I do think that if they are proceeding against the people who perpetrated the crime, that is a good thing to do. I just felt that probably the second attack could have been prevented, for example. And I know that some people are skeptical about whether or not they can evict these people. And it's a terrible thing to evict people, you know, from the place they live in. On the other hand, if they're making life miserable for everyone else, I think it's a good idea. And so I guess we'll just wait and see what happens.
John, we've been in Somerville I mean, you've been in Somerville longer than I have, but, you know, we've been working together for the past 2 years. And, in fact, I've never felt any racism among the group, especially I'm the only black in the group, believe it or not. But I don't feel singled out or anything like that. Right. And, I mean, why can people be like that?
Well, I think a lot of people are like that, and I was glad that the last caller called in. In fact, I work with a lot of teenagers and younger kids in this community, and a lot of them I feel don't you know, feel any prejudice. But the other thing that happens when times get hard, people always look to blame somebody else for their problems, and I think we're going to see a fair amount of that because times are very hard right now for a lot of people, and I think that's too bad. If people would look to see who is really causing the problems, it's certainly, if there's not any jobs, it's not the black person looking for jobs that's the problem. It's the lack of jobs that's the problem, you know?
It's another thing also. Basically, we've been talking about black subjected to racism, but isn't racism a two-way street also?
Well, sometimes I think there have been attacks on whites by blacks, especially when the busing crisis hit Boston. Personally, I think that's totally disgusting, just as the other kind of attacks are. So I'm glad you brought it up. But those kind of attacks are much more rare also, and I think that's important to say.
Will you say that the blacks were responding to the whites being racist to them, or is it just?
Well, obviously, you know, if black teenagers stone a car with white passengers, I don't think they're responding to those particular passengers. But I'm sure there might be some cases when they're responding to other things that have happened to them.
I mean, looking at Martin Luther King.
Like the stoning of buses in South Boston is what came to mind, right?
Definitely.
That those kind of attacks never happened in this city, ever. In fact, I used to live in Roxbury before busing and never had any trouble. And I was talking about, I mean, I was the only white for miles around. And I never had any trouble. People really went out of their way to be nice to me. And those kind of attacks changed and happened. It never happened before until after the whole busing crisis.
In fact, when we look at Gandhi's and Martin Luther King's theory and nonviolence and racial harmony and people, to have their rights, and I mean, it sounds so beautiful. It makes sense. It's logical. So why can't people abide by these simple, human, rules and live happily ever after? Why? Why do we have to complicate things?
Well, my opinion is there's always somebody who is getting something out of getting people fighting each other. That these wars don't just happen. There's somebody needs that war to happen. Maybe somebody says, geez, if we take over that country, we can make a lot of money. So they say, well, how can we get people to want to take over that country? They're not going to get anything out of it. In fact, they're going to be fighting the war. So they say, well, maybe we can tell them all those people, like in Vietnam, all those people, what do they call them? There's a slur, gooks or something like this. Say, look, those people, they're a bunch of communist gooks. They're ruining the world for people like us. And they sort of, put out a lot of propaganda and, a little intimidation, and that's what happens. I really feel that's what happens in the city, like Boston, is people get into these turf battles. So the people in South Boston get into a turf battle trying to defend their turf and see their turf as being threatened by blacks.
John, excuse me, by the way, one of the tape that you worked on, pant mix, why can't people? Why don't you introduce that tape, John?
Okay, well, what happened, I was working with Katie Tolles at the Elizabeth Peabody House, and she was doing a program called History Through Music, where she talked with kids about how this country is a big melting pot and how almost everyone was an immigrant at one time or another, and that's an important part to remember. There's a lot of words that get used, like alien is a big one, right? And since we were all...
Not like the movie Alien.
Right,
aliens
but more like...
coming.
Right, alien meaning you come from another country, and everyone's parents or grandparents or great-grandparents were aliens, and this tape, a lot of kids talked about that, and then talked about some of the things they encountered here, especially kids who had arrived more recently, and then the kids talk about the implications of that. And I think they have a lot of things to say, and probably they're smarter than we are.
Okay, well, why don't we watch the tape? Pants mix, why can't people?
The kids call the kids names because they're like more of their kind instead of black. There's more of white than black in schools. They may not like their culture or how they talk or how they look and all that. They're jealous.
What about you, Robin?
Someone is different doesn't mean that you can't be friends with them or you can't get along with them.
Yeah.
Speaks different language. I can get along with someone that speaks a different language. Well, just because if you're a different color or you dress differently, that doesn't mean that you can't get along with people. Like getting along with people is something normal that everybody does.
I think kids get along a lot better than adults do, because a lot of adults are still from back when there was a lot more troubles between different races and nationalities of people. But nowadays the kids can get along with other peoples. And my father, he's a little bit prejudiced against certain types of people, but I'm not. And that's the only real difference between us, between adults and kids right now. And it can be fixed. Like tomorrow, if kids don't forget the ways they're acting now, it's possible that the world can get together.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a good idea for different races to get together, but one thing I don't like is misunderstanding. Like, I don't mean to be prejudiced or anything, but the Iranian crisis, right? Like, that created a lot of problems for me. Because, like, everybody, like, they think you're Iranian, right? I don't know why. They hate all Iranians, right? They shouldn't do that. It's like, they think that I'm Iranian, right? When I'm walking down the street alone or something, they go, hey, Iranian, come here. Like that. I really don't like that at all.
I'm not even Iranian, and the boy has to hassle me about it. I try to ignore it, but I can't.
Where do you think that comes from?
He's stupid, so it comes from ignorance. He's just stupid. he thinks he's such a cool kid, but he's really a dumb kid because he won't use his mind right.
Where do you think it comes from, Jay?
I think it just comes from ignorance and hatred of what was going on over there. But there's no real reason to hate all the Iranians, though, because they aren't all involved in it. It's only a small portion of their people that were doing those things.
Yeah.
I think prejudice started because 90% of the people down the luck, and they say that it comes to take away their jobs, and they got enough problems. That's why something to complain about.
There were these black people recently. They lived on Lincoln Street, right? And like nobody were their friends and stuff because I think she came from Africa or something. And then like I started playing with her and stuff. Then all the other kids like and then they became to like her because I started playing with her. And now they all play with this girl.
It's like you should get everybody in the world together into the same room, right? And tell them like, oh, just think of them as the same people you are. Just think of them like your own sisters and brothers, except they're dipped in pain or something.
Oh, that's a nice way to think of it. Oh, that was nice, Patty. That would be nice if we could do it. Get everybody together in one room. What do you think, Gerardo?
Yep.
You think that's a good idea? What were you going to say, Paul?
We could fit them all, the whole world in one room.
That's true. Maybe we're going to have to do that inside our minds.
Hello, welcome back to Racism in Somerville. The world would have been a much happier place for us to live in if racism did not exist. I'd like to welcome a group of lovely young men and women who are doing something wonderful in Boston and vicinities, right? And they are members of the Greater Boston Regional Youth Council. And we have Darryl Baxter, Cheryl Harrison, right? Sorry, it's Marty Wallace. Sorry, Marty. Renee Baxter and Jim Curley. Jim was at the last show that we had. And well, welcome to Dead or Alive and on our show, Racism in Somerville. We have a phone call. Can we go to a phone call and then we can talk a little bit, right? We'll see what our caller has to say. Dead or Alive, you on?
Yes, listen, I just want to say one thing. I think Somerville has the best black and white black. Get along better than any other city in the United States, to me. I just lost an uncle 3 days ago. We just buried him by 4 black men. They jumped him, they beat him with a steel bat, and they broke his legs, and they cut his leg open. And this happened twice to him, and he passed away. Out of all this, my father got a heart attack, everything. I think Somerville has come a long way. I think Somerville has the best, like I said, the best in the white, the black, and I think they get along fantastic. That's what I get to say about it. I don't know about Boston. Boston might be different completely. If they do something with Boston and Rosendale, because my uncle never wanted nobody. He was good to everybody. I just don't understand why they do it.
Okay, I'm sorry for what happened to some of your family members, and thank you for calling. Hopefully these things won't happen again. Thanks. Okay, that wasn't too good of a phone call, listening to some of the dreadful and terrible things that happen, around where we live at, and thinking that it could have happened to yourself, myself, or to anybody in our family. And in fact, it's one thing I meant to say at the beginning of the show, which I didn't have a chance to. It's people turn on to the 6 o'clock news, and they hear of incident that occur either in Wilkes-Barre, South Boston, and different places, and they live in Somerville, Watertown, or what have you. And for them, that thing is happening in another part of the world, and they don't really feel it, know what it is, up until it happens to them or somebody close to them. Well, why don't I ask you, what is the Regional Youth Council?
Okay. Youth Council is an organization brought together to help fight racism and prejudice. By saying helping, to me, in my opinion, it is really difficult to say that you can help, that you can stop racism. You can only help, but others have to help you. We can't do things for people, but we have the chance to help them with their problems.
Anything to add? Now, how did it all begin?
Basically, I think dating back to 1979, Regional Youth Council sort of was in its beginning stages, but it didn't really get off the ground until I think it was the summer of 1980, where we were invited to go to Ipswich for a week retreat. This was when I was working at the Academy Homes Housing Development in Roxbury. And so we went for the retreat that week, and after the retreat, the kids that went, really enjoyed it. It was something different. Gave them a chance to intermingle with blacks and whites, and something different. So after that, the kids saw that they wanted to let something happen from that, and we sort of took it from there.
Have you all been with Regional ever since the beginning of it?
No, I've just been maybe 6 months over the weekend retreat.
Renee, right? What are some of the goals of Regional?
I think that Daryl can answer that better than I can.
Excuse me?
Daryl, I think Daryl.
Well, I'm sure if you're a member of Regional, you can tell me some.
The goals are to help, help the prejudice and help racism, help everybody to overcome this problem. That's what we're out. That's what Regional is all. That's what we're out for, to stop racism and everything. Help stop it, I suppose.
And what do you do? I mean, what do you guys do in Regional?
Well, we try to. You can't make everybody stop being prejudiced, but we just try to help. Help us see what we can do to stop it. See what we can do to stop it. Do as much as we can. But we can't do it alone, so we have, like the retreaty said, we have different things to get more people in it and get more people to do it.
Workshops.
You do different workshops and, try to tell people, about racism and how you guys feel
about it. What we try to
it.
do mainly is to promote the idea of racial harmony, try to, at least have them thinking about the problem of racism, and to let them know that you can't sweep it under the rug and hide it, because it's there, and it's something that have to be done. Something have to be done about it. So,
I tell you what, you guys did a tape recently, a video tape. So which one of you wants to introduce the tape? Because the tape is cute, and we're gonna see some of the stuff that you guys are doing.
Okay, I'll introduce the tape. The tape that you're about to see is from a workshop which took place this past summer in Ipswich, Massachusetts, about 40 miles from Boston. And it's a workshop on racial awareness. And I think this is to a group of mainly white kids, and it's done by our regional peer leaders, all from the Boston and Somerville area.
Listen, maybe we all can learn something from this tape we're going to watch. It's a multiracial group, and it's a bunch of young men and young women together doing something so that people will not be as racial as they are. Maybe we'll learn something from them.
Certainly hope.
Just like the light of a new day, it hit me from out of the blue, breaking me out of the spell I was in, making all of my wishes come true. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me.
The hardest workshop of the summer was one where a participant was heard to have said, "Watch out, here come the minorities." We didn't know what to do. We didn't know if they would be wise and sarcastic, or if they just wouldn't listen to us.
So we decided that we were going to make this our best workshop, and we put our heart and soul into it, and I think the kids believed us. When you're honest with people and show them your true feelings, they'll listen. And it turned out to be our best workshop of the whole summer. Well, I think that regional means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and that it helps us come to terms with ourselves on how we feel about different people of different colors and ethnic backgrounds, and it helps us to realize, you know, how we feel and how to deal with it and how to get along better with other people.
I grew up in Florida. I grew up in an all-black community. What I mean when I say all-black community, black school teachers, black doctors, black lawyers, black undertakers. Everybody was black, you know, and I didn't know anything about white folk, and I didn't know anything about anybody other than the black people because I had lived in an all-black community. Yet still, you know, I had this, I don't know if it was, I don't know what I would call it, a stereotype of fear or what. It's something I had for white people. I was sort of, I don't know. I always looked up to white people. I see them on TV, and I always, you know, look up to them and say they're all looking down on us. They think that they're better than we are.
And I had always heard that Roxbury was dangerous, that it, you know, I thought everybody there carried knives and that everybody was going to jump you or stab you or take your money. But I found out different when I stayed at a friend's house in Roxbury. And we went to the store around 12:30 at night one night. And I was really scared because I thought that, you know, all the fables that I had heard were true, that, you know, I was going to get jumped because I was white and I was a white female to top that off. And just in today's society, I figured everything they said was true. But it wasn't. And I found out, and I was really, you know, ashamed of myself for believing those things. But, you know, I think you got to find out about things before you jump to conclusions.
Break up into small groups now, and there's going to be 2 regional peer leaders and some Somerville in every group.
If you were the only person in your class of your race, how would you feel?
I'd probably wait for somebody to talk to me because a lot of times if you're different in a group, it's like you're afraid if you talk to somebody, they say, don't talk to me, you know, get out of here. You know, you're afraid of rejection, so I'd probably wait for somebody to talk to me.
Well, it doesn't bother me anymore because no one says it anymore, but when they used to call me Wop, Greaser, or Guinea, I used to get really mad because, like, these, you know, like all Italians are greasy and all that. I'm not greasy. You know, it's just, it used to get me really mad.
Stereotype that I've heard a lot is that all black people are poor and they're all on welfare and they don't like working for a living. I mean, let me tell you, and they all eat fried chicken and watermelon. Let me tell you, working, I don't think I would have my apartment. And my parents taught me that if I want something, to work for it.
Hello, welcome back to Dead Air Live. Our show this evening is Racism in Somerville. I'm Jean Augustin. I'll be your host for this evening. And again, welcome to our guest from the Greater Boston Regional Youth Council. In fact, you guys have been giving some great answers, and I think this is wonderful. And this tape was very good. You know, I was watching it earlier, and I just saw it again. I think, you know, what you guys are doing is, you know, is really beautiful. Now, Renee, why are you involved in regional?
I'm involved in regional because I'm not prejudiced and I don't like racism, and regional is all to stop prejudice and racism. Well, not exactly stop it, but help everybody. And that's, you know, I feel myself, I'm there because I like it too. Regional is, regional is, it's where a person that is not prejudiced belongs, someplace like that. And I get a lot of, I like it.
Jim, why are you with regional? In fact, I have to say that Jim is from Somerville. A couple of the members, Marty and James, are from Somerville. And I think there's a little history behind Somerville and regional. Why Somerville is involved with regional. You want to somebody wants to clarify that first? Jim?
I don't know too much about that. I wasn't there. I'm just
It has something to do with the Somerville Council and...
I guess it's sponsored by the Somerville Youth Program.
Okay.
And I know
So
as
which
much
means
as
that
Darryl does at this time.
Somerville wants, wants to do something about racism. So that's why Somerville is getting together, together with regional and form one, like the Greater Boston Regional Youth Council, so that everybody can work together. Well, I asked you a question earlier. Why are you involved with regional?
I just found that before I joined regional, I was kind of ignorant to things like the Haitians being stoned, the rocks being thrown through the windows and everything. And I really didn't know too much about that until maybe I joined regional, and I got to know that a lot of things were going on.
Do you work well with black people?
Yeah.
Do you work well with white people? How about you?
Yeah, I get along good.
And why did you join regional?
Well, first I was asked to go there, and the first time I went, I was see what it like, and I liked it because, it's there. You're there to help other people. Because I remember like a few times where I got aggravated with black people just because they did something to me, and I figured they were all like that. And then when I went to regional, it showed me you got to accept people the way they are, not for the color they are.
Would you say at one point you were racist? You could consider yourself as being racist? Or?
Well, yes.
And regional changed that?
Yeah.
So is racist a learned behavior? It's something that you were born racist, or what would you say?
I don't know. It was really it's like a rudeness.
But it's something you can get rid of.
Yeah, it's like when.
Okay. What about yourself? Why did you join regional?
Because I'm tired of hearing about the bad things going on. You can sit back, but for me, I like to take action.
All right.
And to me, regional is going somewhere.
Del? Yes. Why are you involved with regional? I'm asking everybody some questions just to get a sense.
Mainly saying what the others have said, to try and promote the idea of racial harmony and to try and get people to see, that there's nothing, that we can really do, about racism if we're not willing to accept the fact that we have, these problems. So I'm, here trying to.
Let me ask you a question. Isn't it just nice when you have a friend? I mean, regardless if he's from Haiti, Cuba, Puerto Rico, or where have you, and whatever color he is, until that person is a friend and, somebody you can count on, somebody you love as a friend, regardless of, where he's from and what his color is. I mean, don't you think so?
Wonderful.
And it's so beautiful. I feel that people are limiting their resources when they set themselves with a certain group and not with everybody. That's terrible. Anyhow, how many people are involved together with your group, with regional?
I would say that in every group you have the core members. I'd say probably a core members probably about 20, but the kids that are actually involved in our retreats and workshops, the number up to probably nearly 100.
About 100?
Yeah,
That's
all the kids.
Marty, I believe that you guys have workshops in different places. And what are some of the workshops that you guys have? And what do you accomplish by those workshops, with those workshops anyway?
Well, I only been in one workshop.
Okay, well, can you tell me a little bit about it?
And it's like to go to explain to people what regional's about and what it is. That's the only workshop I've been to.
Renee, what do you do in your meetings?
What we do in our meetings, we talk about problems that are around Boston or the Somerville area, even problems that go far back as Miami, Florida, with the problem. We talk about them and we see what we can do about it. We speak out against it. And how do we feel about what has happened? And we plan for trips and things, and sometimes we just get together just to have fun.
Okay, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Cheryl, what do you think is the biggest problem in dealing with racism?
First of all, convincing yourself that it's there. Some people choose to hide behind and say it's not there. But prejudice and racism is here. So I said that's the biggest problem. Admitting that it's there.
All right. Jim, what can people do about racism? What do you think people can do about racism?
Well, maybe they can get to know another person. Like I got to know Darryl and going skating one night. We got to know what each other was like.
Do you think, are you two good friends now?
Oh, yeah.
Daryl and I get along pretty well at times. In fact, we were out there, and before the show, we were talking about it, and they were all getting kind of nervous. And I was kind of egging them on, you know. But we can kid around like that between each other because we're friends. And I think if a person wants to get rid of their prejudices, maybe they can get to know a black person or whatever, try to understand why they have that prejudice, and try to figure out what they can do about it.
What do you think what is the most successful thing you guys think you have accomplished as a group?
That it's working.
It's working.
It's working. We're going somewhere.
Leaving people thinking.
Mm-hmm. It's about the most important thing, making people think about
Yeah.
their prejudices.
I would have a great role to say.
And what are some future things you have in mind to do?
Future plans are to continue our workshops. This time, take them, you know, more so into the Boston public schools, where there seems to be a lot of problems, or at least a lot of focus is on the problems that are in the schools. So that's part of our plans, and not only to stick with the Boston area, but hopefully to spread out, you know, other places.
So you think the group will someday be nationwide?
Oh,
you
sure.
know, spread all over.
Yeah, we have kids as far as Springfield, Massachusetts in our council, New York City, Brooklyn, New York.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I'm very sorry, and that's the end of our show. I'd like to thank all of you that have been watching the show this evening, especially the one of you that have called for questions and comments. And our special thanks go to Daryl, Cheryl, Marty, Renee, Jim, John Pennington, who was on the show earlier, and Wone. And also, I'd like to read the credits now and thank all the crew from the Somerville Producers Group who have been working so hard to put this show together. Light and set, we have Larry Yeager, Charlie Tesh, John Jaffe. Audio, John Pennington, Greg West, and Ted German. Switcher, Martha Mollison. Floor manager, John Jaffe. Phones, Marsha Green. Cameras, BJ Platiner, Paul, and Charlie Tesh. Mike, Larry Yeager, Nella Waters, Charlie Kelly, director, co-producer Claire Bish and Charlie Kelly, and also, Jean Augustine, your host for this evening. Thank you, have a good night, and stay tuned 2 weeks from now for our next show. Good night.
Heard them calling for freedom everywhere. If you've seen the red blood of your people, all you gotta do is reach out your hand and